Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmy Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity. A good segue into today's topic, and kind of ending this series of foundational pillars of effective leadership, and bringing it all together with kind of how you just talked about Uncle Eddie, and bringing it all together with integrity. And the first tenet that we wanted to dive into was the importance of demonstrating humility and just being self-aware. Being self-aware of, we talked about your strengths and assessments and stuff that you can do, but also being aware of your blind spots. So, well, Jimmy, how are you going to be aware there are blind spots for a reason? But we all have them. But in order to find out about those, you have to ask, and you have to be open to getting feedback and be humble in that process to say, I know I have them because I'm not perfect. I might not know what they are, but help me out, kind of really think about it and kind of help me out in some of those areas. So being self-aware and being humble, recognizing that, as great as we may feel we are, and as confident as we are, and as great orators as we may be, none of us are perfect, and none of us have it all figured out. So, and while people do, I think, appreciate confidence, right? It's that fine line between confidence and then being cocky, right? And people don't like that, right? They don't like when somebody is overly cocky about themselves, and even in a demonstrative way. So there's definitely something to be said about being humble in yourself, and putting others before yourself, and then again being self-aware. So in doing so, seeking out feedback, and how do you do that, right? So there's some simple ways that you can do that. We'll talk about a couple. One that I wanted to mention. This was, I believe you were on my team at the time. I can't remember exactly. But I knew I wanted feedback, and maybe at the time too, we were having a lot of discussions about like 360 surveys and stuff like that. And on one of our previous episodes, I said I even did one with my family. I had my wife and my kids fill one out. But that was it was really great feedback to get from my family, but at my job. So I sent out this 360 feedback survey to my team that reported to me, to my counterparts, to business partners in other sites, in other places within Florida that I supported, and really, again, went into it looking to see, okay, yeah, what are the things I do good, but what are the areas of opportunity that I have? And again, what are those blind spots? What are those things that maybe other people see that I'm not seeing, but I really need to know those things? So creating a survey, and I'm sure you can Google it and find, a number of different 360 surveys, and sent that out, got feedback, and it was for me. And I didn't necessarily talk to people about it, but it was just for me to read, to analyze, and then from there, okay, some of it you're going to take with a grain of salt, some of it you're going to really analyze a little bit more. But once you have that compilation of information, it's, what do I need to do next, right? What are the next steps to strengthen some of my strengths and those areas of opportunity? How do I feel about that? What, if anything, can I do to improve those areas? And then start putting, making some goals and putting some action plans in place to reach that. The second kind of tactic that you can use, or strategy, that I'm in the process of doing now. So listen up, because you're one of the folks that I'll be asking this question to, as I kind of continue to go down, this path of somewhat self-discovery, but really just trying to continue to figure things out within myself. Just ask, people that you're close with and that you trust. In my best moments, what are some words that you would use to describe Jimmy? In my worst moments, what are some words that you would use to describe me? You know what I mean? And get a good enough sample size, again, from people that you trust and that you're closest to, whether it's 5, 10 people, whatever that number is, and then start to kind of pinpoint what are some of those words, right, that they use to describe you that that match up, that are alike, and that as you kind of go through that process. And actually, I got this specific idea from that book I told you I've been reading, To Be Told. But it really helps you, especially if you go back, and people that have known you for a very long time. There's going to be certain, elements that you see and themes that you see, and it really just helps you to, again, really understand kind of the story of your life, and helps you to continue to rewrite, not rewrite, but co-author, your story and your life as you continue to move forward. That's how the book breaks it down. But again, in the act of being self-aware and gaining feedback, in my best moments, what are some words that you'll use to describe me? And in some of my bad or worse moments, what are some words that you'll use to describe me? But you have to be open to that. You have to be receptive to the feedback, and you cannot allow yourself to get defensive, because in that humility, like, you're doing it because you want to know how other people think, but more importantly, you also want to improve, right? And we all do things at times that are not intentional, and we may say things or do things that hurt people's feelings or make them feel a particular way that we had no intention of doing. And if sometimes it's on that other person, but if there's things that I can do to make adjustments and change that so it doesn't happen again, I want to be able to know those things, because we all make impacts, right? But again, as we talked about, with your Uncle Eddie, is how do we make impacts that are very positive and that are very long lasting and that leave a very positive legacy for us and in the minds and in the hearts of the people that we're around.
Oh, 100%, man. The thing that comes to mind, actually, we were talking about that, about the self-awareness and the humility is, for me, I always found the most powerful tool in a leader's tool belt, the most enduring characteristic of an exceptional leader, is one that has a willingness to be led.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
And specifically, like you said, seeking out feedback so that they can continue to improve and to get better, and to not just be satisfied with past accomplishments or past successes, or to fixate on, obviously their best attributes, but to also make a concerted effort to find out where they're falling short, and to say, well, is there something of value in that feedback that I can do something about immediately, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're truly in leadership for the pure reason of trying to serve others, right, then that feedback is invaluable. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day how great of a job I think I'm doing right, as a leader, if those that I've been entrusted to steward are giving me feedback to the contrary, right, my job is to deliver for them, not to deliver for my ego. So I love the tips that you provided around soliciting feedback through 360. I think that's always value added. In fact, it's a nice reminder for myself too, because I'm coming up on day 90 in my organization. I'm like, it's probably a good time to say, okay, 90-day check-in, and just get feedback from those that I partner with, those that I report to, those that report to me, the whole nine. So that's something that I'm absolutely going to do. And then also the advice of just being able to ask those that you truly trust. And I think that's the other thing too, right, is another key attribute or skill set that a leader can possess is discernment to know who to solicit feedback from or to seek counsel from, right? I think that's critically important, right? If you don't have the discernment to be able to identify those that really have your best interests at heart as a leader and those that do not, right? And then you start seeking feedback from those that never had your best interests at heart in the first place, right? And you heed that and apply it, right? And you fall short of what you expect of yourself as a leader. You can't be mad at anybody in that situation but yourself, because you lack the discernment to know whose counsel to seek out, right? I think that's the other attribute is, being able to demonstrate the wisdom to know who to reach out to for wisdom. Like,
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
you have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.